Nothing would make President Trump happier on his birthday than knowing a bunch of crooked, corrupt Democrats are going to jail. And that's exactly what's happening. I'm going to tell you about it today. It's Trump's birthday. Iran is attacking Israel after Israel attacked Iran. We're having a massive no King's Day, even though President Trump says, I don't feel like a king. It takes forever to get anything done. I've got a great news show for you, including a huge announcement from Congresswoman Luna on the Benny Johnson show. Stick with me. Let's go ahead and jump right into the news. Today is Flag Day. It's also President Donald J. Trump's birthday. It also happens to be No King's Day, where people are gathering at over 2,000 locations to hopefully peacefully protest their hatred for President Trump, some of them for our country, some of them for Israel, some of them for Elon Musk. It's a great day of hate. I think it's a great day of love, but that's what they're protesting. Also, President Trump shares he got a surprise birthday phone call from Vladimir Putin of Russia, and they had a really interesting conversation. Let me go ahead and put that up on the screen right now, and I will go ahead and read that to you. President Putin called this morning to very nicely wish me a happy birthday, but to more importantly talk about Iran, a country he knows very well. We talked at length. Much less time was spent talking about Russia, Ukraine, but that will be for next week. He is doing the planned prison swaps. Large numbers of prisoners are being exchanged immediately from both sides. The call lasted approximately 1 hour. He feels, as I do, this war in Israel-Iran should end, to which I explained this war that his war should also end. So President Trump on his birthday getting lots done internationally and especially here at home. President Trump is doing his best. He's fighting international news. He's fighting these hate groups. He's fighting rhinos, minos, war hawks, and they're all trying to push him into war, and he's trying to avoid that. So with Putin, he's saying, hey, listen, I don't want this war with Iran. I'm supporting Israel, but I'm not going to support this war. At the same time, we should go ahead and end your war with Ukraine. So what an interesting way to start off your birthday. Now, the House of Representatives narrowly passed a bill, 214 to 22 votes, to lock in the first DOGE spending cuts, which was $9.4 billion. The proposed cuts included foreign aid, USAID, PEPFAR, and various United Nations initiatives, as well as $1.1 billion for NPR and PBS, which no longer need money from the government in order to function. Now, the White House pushed for the legislation to comply with the Congressional Budget and Impound Control Act, following DOGE's broader goal of trimming an additional $180 billion from the government budget. House Speaker Mike Johnson applauded the bill as a step towards restoring fiscal responsibility. But Democrats, led by Hakeem Jeffries, blasted the move as reckless, warning it could jeopardize national security, not true, and public broadcasting, also not true. Democrats are now telling their voters that hundreds of thousands of children and people have died because of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's reckless cuts. Number one, they have zero proof that that is true. This sounds weird to say. It sounds good to say lots of children died in order to keep the corrupt money funneling going, right? I don't think children dying. Does that make sense? Like, they're saying this as a lie to keep the lie funding their pockets, right? Secondly, what they're really mad about is that their families, their wives, their children-in-law just had 6- and 7-figure taxpayer-funded paydays cut off. That's what they're really mad. They don't care about children. If they did, they would stop abortions, right? They wouldn't be cheering on this war where thousands of people are dying every single week. So it's hypocrisy, it's lies, it's Washington, D.C., right? Now, the bill will move forward to the Senate where it's believed that it will pass. Okay, now I want to share with you a story from Elon Musk and libs of TikTok. You guys are not going to believe this. Let me bring it up on the screen here. Well, wouldn't you know it? 3 company executives have pled guilty to taking USAID funds, 14 contracts worth $550 million. The USAID official, Roderick Watson, took bribes, was showered with lavish gifts, including cash, laptops, thousands of dollars in tickets to suites at NBA games, a country club wedding, down payment on 2 mortgages, cell phones, and jobs for relatives. They are going to jail for 15 years, and they stole $550 million from American taxpayers. But Elon Musk says, listen, this is only the tip of the iceberg. It's much worse than this. Now, let me know in the comments, does this make you happy? I mean, what a waste of our taxpayer money. Why should these 3 gentlemen live like the sultans of Saudi Arabia while the rest of us wonder about paying mortgages, rent, car payments, getting to work, and putting food on the table? So I'm glad they're going to jail, and I'm glad Elon Musk and Donald Trump shut this down. But then to have these losers and the Democrat leadership say hundreds of thousands of children have died because of Elon Musk and Trump, they don't know that. That's a total lie. All right, now this is big, big, big. So the United States has some big news coming out. For decades, George Soros and others have been behind the scenes sowing chaos in America, attacking Black Americans, funding the illegal invasion of our country, buying off district attorneys, police chiefs, trying to manipulate U.S. elections. Elon Musk and his DOGE geniuses were able to prove that George Soros and others used billions and billions and billions of dollars of taxpayer money to fund the invasion of the United States. Meanwhile, Democrats said that Elon Musk was the bad guy and that it's bad for a billionaire to help a political party. Give me a break. You guys are such lying pieces of crap. Okay, sorry. So now members of the Republican Party are saying that they've been following the money trail and it leads to George Soros and billionaire Neville Singham, who made a bunch of money off of America, moved out of America, and then used that money to sow chaos and anti-American values. Listen to this interview between Benny Johnson and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna as they talk about this. They're calling George Soros and others in to be investigated, and then they are going to question them in front of Congress. Listen to this.
What are we doing about it is the question. Ask me what we're doing about it.
Okay. Yeah, because this is like alarming, right? Like, I'm like, okay, so if you are actually able to name the person, when do the shackles come out? Because we've heard Holly banging the drums, you know.
So Holly posted. So I want to give credit to someone specifically, 2 people. First person is the data Republican. She actually has been responsible for pulling all this data together, and she's actually who I saw this. And then also Laura Loomer was also the one that sent me the stuff on Code Pink and Singham's wife. But those 2 people, credit due where it's deserved. But what are we doing about it? So I actually talked to Comer, and we actually have a letter going out today. You'll see that come out in a story with the New York Post. But a letter going out from all the members of oversight asking Neville Singham to come in to testify. If Neville Singham does not come in to testify, Mr. Singham, if you do not produce documentation and come testify before Congress, you will be subpoenaed. And if you ignore that subpoena, you will go to jail because we will hold you in contempt of Congress. And Merrick Garland is no longer in charge. So we are going to ask for financials, and we are also going to be asking for him to testify. Now, Mr. Singham is not a registered foreign agent, and he is advocating for the government of China. That is illegal. It's known as a FARA violation. So as of right now, we will call him to testify. You'll see that date notice, and the process will play out. But he's not the only person that I've asked Comer to bring in to testify. I've also asked him to call in George Soros. Soros is an interesting twist in this because you have Neville Singham, who is a open Marxist, pro-China, and then you have Soros, who's an open globalist. Both end objectives are to take down the West and to fight what President Trump is doing, because he is literally the person standing in the way of that. And so their end objective, even though they're ideologically different in certain senses, is and target would be destruction of America. So we'll see if Comer bites on sending a subpoena to Soros. But either which way, every single time Democrats call for a subpoena and try to pull a parliamentary on Soros, I will then, or on Elon Musk, I will then try to pull the parliamentary on Soros. So they'll have to choose.
Okay, so this is huge, right? We've been wanting them to do this. Now, Benny Johnson's about to say, you guys have been trying to do this for decades. Why can't you get it done? Listen to what she's saying. She's trying to put out a letter to get them to come in. She then has to convince Congressman James Comer and others who have the subpoena power to get these billionaires in and force them to testify under oath. I hope she's able to do it. Listen to what else they say.
George Soros has been sowing these seeds for the better part of the last 3 decades. Why hasn't he ever been subpoenaed? Like, are Republicans just so weak?
Benny, I think that this should have been done a really long time ago. Yeah, and I'm only one member and I'm only one vote. We need more people up here with the same mindset. I think that there is probably, I'd say like a quarter of Republicans would have no issue subpoenaing him. I think though that there are people that are scared about re-election, and George Soros is a billionaire. I actually fought George Soros funding in both of my elections. There were groups tied to him that came after me to the tunes of millions of dollars. But this job for me is so I can help the country, and so it is what it is. And
if these guys don't do it, then our community is going to have to start calling James Comer and call their office and say, you need to subpoena George Soros and Neville Singham to testify why they are creating chaos in America.
I think that that's what they're concerned about.
Yeah, I was born in the 80s. Okay, I think we were both born in the 80s, and we grew up in a very different country.
Old.
We grew up in a very different country with different political parties. And when this son of a bitch got involved, suddenly it became like a globalist Marxist movement. Like everything changed. Well, everything changed radically and horribly for the worse. It used to be like we agreed on a lot of stuff, actually.
Here's a number that you should be telling people about. $270 million went from USAID funding to various Soros-controlled NGOs. And Elon Musk actually was on Joe Rogan talking about how Soros has been able to really take these small amounts of money in retrospect and turn them into these massive machines. And what I will tell you is that George Soros specifically, if you have taxpayer funded dollars going to that, when Elon went after USAID and then kind of uncovered the dirty tricks that the USAID was doing, all of that in itself, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is. People can get focused on the low level finger pointing, Denver's Republican. Soros, initially starting out, obviously, he has an interesting story people should check into. But he is not ideologically an American. He might be by citizenship, but ideologically, he does not believe in American values. He's a globalist. He's pushing the Open Societies Foundation, wants no borders, is largely responsible for the mass immigration into Europe that has resulted in beautiful young women being raped, ideological warfare taking place. And to be clear, I would say has been responsible for a destabilization. I mean, he was responsible for dropping the British pound and crashing it, has crashed many countries before. So, if you watch Star Wars, he's basically the Sith Lord of the left.
Yes. He's like,
I don't have to say it.
Yeah, you just go listen to the interviews. I mean, he'll tell you about how he got started. He'll tell you about like the darkness in his soul, that he doesn't believe in God, that he believes that he's God, and that and we know how that always ends, right? We know how that spiritual battle always ends.
God always wins. God is real.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a bad dude. The other guy, they just want to undermine the American experiment. They want to sow chaos. They do race wars. So they'll spend all this money saying, we're going to do all this stuff for the Black community. Behind the scenes, they're doing all this stuff to destroy the Black nuclear family. They say that we support family. They do all this stuff through the LGBTQ trans agenda, education, on and on and on. And then they went after district attorneys to get people like Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, others into office out in California, Gascon. These are all George Soros. How many women have been R-worded because of George Soros and his open societies? I mean, it's disgusting. They've got to bring this guy in. We want some answers. If not, get out, get your money out of America. It's time to move on. Let me know in the comments, please. Would you like to see George Soros and others forced to testify under oath in front of Congress? If it's a yes, I want you to type Y. And if it's a no, I want you to type N and then tell me why not. All right, newly declassified CIA documents show that RFK Jr. was actually working with the CIA to gather information on the Soviet Union. Also, a Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas, they went over to Russia. They then reported back to the CIA on what happened. RFK Sr. was assassinated supposedly by Sirhan, but RFK Jr. swears that Sirhan, although he was there to kill his father, did not do it. He was assassinated by a hired bodyguard from behind. So very interesting. Okay, now going into the weekend, Israel launched a massive attack against Iran. They have now retaliated. It's getting really ugly. I have friends in Israel that are saying, pray for us. It's getting really scary over here. On June 13th, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a large-scale military offensive targeting Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure, including the Natsan facility, as reported by Axios. The strike involved over 200 Israeli Air Force jets, drones. They killed key figures, including Major General Hassan Salami and many nuclear scientists. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called this a decisive moment, that they neutralized the Iran nuclear ambition. President Trump said everyone that America was negotiating with is now dead, that America was not a part of this, but allowed Israel to do whatever they wanted. But Trump still says that he wants to work with the supreme leader or negotiators to help Iran be free and be able to trade with the rest of the world. Now, amid the escalation, Iran, reeling from the strikes, has counter-striked. At the same time, they put in a private phone call to President Trump, asking him to end the war, to stop the killing from Israel, and to get back to negotiating. President Trump told Axios, I couldn't get a deal done in 60 days. Maybe now it will happen. I'm also reading today that they are calling for negotiations in a neutral area like Qatar in order to get this thing done. Now, Candace Owens, who used to be a big believer in Donald Trump, now believes that he is bought off and compromised by Israel, that he only does the bidding of Israel, that Benjamin Netanyahu must have something over him. Here's what she wrote: the most predictable war ever. I feel so sick of Israel and those who pretend its actions are normal or even remotely justifiable. This country has a bloodlust like no other. Have an issue with this tweet? I literally don't care. Think defending Israel's demonic actions is going to guarantee you a spot in heaven? Double your indulgences and sign your offspring up to die for Netanyahu. Leave the rest of us the hell alone. So she's become incredibly bitter towards Israel. Here's been my position. I've been saying this since October 7th. I believe Israel has the right to defend itself. I don't love the way that they've done it. I hate all the children and women that have died going after Hamas. I also understand, what are you supposed to do when the country next to you literally continues to try to kill you every single day? All right, listen to this. Former Democrat House Speaker in Illinois is going to jail for stealing tons of money from taxpayers and for basically trying to bribe his way out. Let's go through this information. This is former Democrat House Speaker Mike Madigan, sentenced to 7.5 years in prison for corruption charges. He's the longest running Democrat in Illinois history. I've said this many times. The longer you stay in politics, the more likely you are to become corrupt, bought out, bribed, bought off, blackmailed. So this guy was the former chair of the Democrat Party, the #1 gerrymanderer, millions stolen in campaign money, many, many years corrupting the system. This guy is going to jail. He says now that he's going to jail, you know, I might not have been a very trustworthy politician, but at least I was a good dad and a good father. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail for bribery. He actually used his position of authority to stop an investigation against himself, but now he's he can't hide it anymore, and he's actually going to be going to jail for the rest of his life. Unbelievable. Hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about this guy, Mike Madigan, George Soros, Trump's birthday. Let's wish happy birthday to President Trump. Maybe write that in the comments down below. All right, if you stayed this long, please give this video a like. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 2 million amazing truth seekers. I love you guys. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.